I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? No, I'm serious. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? No, that's the title of the episode.
Yes.
I think our engineer is freaking out. Hey guys, welcome back to the Doctor Who After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. We are talking about the episode Can You Hear Me, which led me to really stupid jokes to open up this episode. I'm Zach Wilson. We've got Adrian Snow here tonight.
Hello.
And we've got Rachel Goodman right next to her.
Hey, everybody.
So, we've got an episode to talk about.
Did they ever say, "Can you hear me"? Doesn't she say, "Can you see me"? Just,
I didn't notice if they said it or not. I just watched it when it aired. I didn't know the name of the episode until it was done. So I wasn't paying attention for it. But I'm also not 100% sure "Can You Hear Me" is the clearest title for this episode.
Pretty sure she said, "Can you see me?" But and not "Can you hear me?"
It was more about sight than hearing.
More
I agree, especially with the psychic vision stuff.
So, all right, well, let's just, right off the bat, reactions. What do you guys think?
I think if I were tripping on acid, I would have really liked this episode. I just had that thought as I was watching it, because there were some points where I would look down and I look up and I'd be like, what just happened? Like, what is going on right now? I missed something. But I really didn't miss anything. It just wasn't the best structured episode, in my opinion.
I appreciated some of the moments we had I feel like we really got to dive in deeper with the characters. So I appreciated that. And I also appreciated this sense of, I feel like maybe some of the crew is starting to think that they don't want to be on this journey anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's weird. It's weird to have companions that are like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I guess, so one thing I'll say that I really liked about this episode is we finally are getting some more character development for our companions.
A little bit.
And yes, it's not a ton, and we're 7 episodes into the season, and I wish we'd had a lot more, but at least we're getting some, which, considering there's 3 companions, you'd think we'd gotten somebody's arcs more this season, but we haven't gotten really anybody. None of them have had much to do.
Not really.
But they all had a little bit here.
Yeah, because it was a home episode, which I think kind of sucks. Like, if the only time they have something to do is when they're doing a home episode, then that's not the best storytelling. Like, they should still be developing even when they're on adventures, and I don't ever get the sense that they are. The
adventures should drive their stories, or the Doctors, or ideally both. But the last few episodes haven't really driven, with the exception of the Fugitive of the Judoon, obviously drove the Doctor story forward a big way. They haven't really done much to drive anybody's story. They've just been very contained. Yeah. But in this, so we do get a little bit. We got Ryan dealing with his friend
Tiba.
Yaz with her sister, and we got some flashbacks to young Yaz.
Yeah. 3 years prior.
3 years prior, but like she's getting bullied. So like, was that her in high school?
I think it was.
How old is Yaz?
I thought Yaz was at least edging on 30, but I guess not.
I'm really bad with telling someone's age, like when I look at someone, but I had guessed that she was mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
So if we were seeing her 3 years ago, but she was supposed to be in high school, so now I'm thinking, okay, so what is she, 20?
But she and Ryan also went to school together, so they're supposed to be the same age?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Like, I guess you can get bullied in college. Like, people get bullied in college, but you don't really, like, run away when you're in college.
Somebody didn't check their character Bible is what I'm thinking. Because it's like, you just, like, how old are these characters supposed to be? And that speaks to underdeveloped characters. We have no idea how old they are. We have no idea where they were in life when we meet them, really. We have like a brief idea, but not truly like an estimate of what they were doing.
We know that Yaz was a police officer in training, where she's basically a traffic cop because she hasn't earned the right to do anything bigger yet. And she's been working with that. She put it off in Spyfall at the top of the season, but she just sort of like left it behind, and we don't know how hard she worked for that. What really, like, I think this was them showing us like why she became a cop. So that was interesting. We got like a little bit more there, but I would have liked to see more dealing with what caused her to feel this way. Because what we saw in this was, I love the idea, the ideas behind this episode, because I would love to see more stuff that tackles mental illness through just storytelling.
Yeah.
And through sci-fi nonsense and ridiculousness.
And not just, I mean, mental illness, but also grief too. Like with Graham's storyline and with Grace and just everything he was going through. And so also too, somebody, you know, he's had cancer, and now that fear that it's going to come back. I think a lot of people could relate to that, even if they haven't had cancer, because cancer is such a prevalent disease. That right there just made me connect with him so much more than I ever have before.
I think the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes where they decided to go over the hour, I was like, you know, you could have just made that the whole episode. If the big bad or the, you know, monster of the week was tied to people suffering with depression or that type of fear versus like your nightmares, that would have been something that would have pulled me in. Just having it be kind of this vague thing character, and then he's attacking nightmares, but is he attacking nightmares or he's feeding nightmares? Like, it was so, I was like, what is going on? And this has been my biggest problem with Chibnall, is that sometimes he leans too hard into thinking that we're here for the mystery. And it's like, no, sometimes you can just tell me a story and put it on, layer it into, you know, this undercurrent of it being about depression and your fears of just living, and I'll be here for it. But that's not what he did.
We can see the characters come to a realization that we as the audience are already aware of, and it can still be a great journey. Even if we know what they're about to find out. And yes, like, the idea of manifesting your depression in some sort of physical form that's crazy. That's cool. Like,
that would have been real cool to see.
As somebody who has like dealt with depression at especially like different spikes in my life and like anxiety in a lot of ways, like it can be a monster that can take. It can be a giant gorilla. What was
depression
that?
kitty?
Like a gorilla cat.
Depression kitty.
Was that what it was? He's Depression Kitty?
Are you talking about the animated show on Netflix?
No, I'm talking about the monster in this episode.
Yeah, the Chigaska.
Chigaska. He's like a gorilla, like,
it looked
cat.
like a werewolf kind of thing.
A wolf gorilla.
I think that is one aspect of this episode I appreciated, because like you, like I've also gone through my own like depression, and especially anxiety. And so to get the main character, Tahira, conquering her fears and like showing that, you know, even though we didn't directly see her, actually battling mental health, but to get the sense that she conquered her fears and conquered what she was going through and was able to control the demon inside of her, not literally inside of her, but the demon in her dreams that she created. I loved that analogy.
But that's the thing. I kind of wish that monster had been something that she created from her own internal problems.
It seems like it was like a PTSD type of manifestation, but they didn't really give us too much information on her. So that's me like kind of reaching to even get to that conclusion.
That she was like attacked by either a dog at a young age.
Well, no, she said her family was murdered when she was like 7, and they took her into that hospital or Aleppo, basically, that she kind of escaped some type of.
Got it.
And some of it was very exposition-y. Like, the only reason why I really drew that conclusion is because I think it was the doctor or Yaz who said, oh, she literally fought her demons. So it's like they spelled it out for you. But I do like the idea of it, and I think that it was kind of a nice little twist at the end so that they could actually beat, I think his name was Yellen. Zelen, sorry, with a Z.
Yeah.
Zelen and Zira?
Maybe.
Zara?
I didn't catch her name.
I think I wrote down Zara.
Okay.
Don't know if that's right, but I wrote it down.
It did seem like they were. I knew pretty early on that she was controlling the monster, even if it wasn't, even if she didn't realize it, just by the way that she was still alive and that she understood what the monster was. But then, and that was also kind of confusing because they introduced this whole monster. And then, like it's a red herring, and there's this whole other thing when this guy's fingers are flying through the air. I was like, this is a little too confusing. And then some black woman's appearing in Graham's head, and it's like looks psychedelic. I was like, this is too confusing. Like, wait a second. Like, restructure the way you're telling this story so that I can understand what I'm supposed to be focusing on.
So I think that it would have been stronger if they focused on the psychic vision element, because that is where they kind of had us. They what I thought at the top of the episode, when Tahira even said, like, before we saw any of the characters dreaming, Tahira said they show up when you dream, and she didn't mean it the same way that we later find out the others are being controlled, like their nightmares are being taken from them. She meant it in a different way, but how I sort of took this is that it was, foreshadowing of what was to come, and I appreciated that, but I think it would have been stronger if they had linked it a little bit more with the psychic visions and kind of like how Graham was seeing certain things ahead of when he actually saw it. It would have been a little more interesting if they kind of cleared that up and just kind of focused there instead of it almost felt like they were going like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. style and people are going to be pulled into a different world, and I was waiting for them to do that where the doctor was going to wake up and realize she was not where she thought she was.
Yeah. It just, it's just the structure. The structure for me of the story overall was just kind of like...
It was a little all over the place. And, like, there were, like, good pieces, and there were interesting things that they were doing. This is the first time, at least that I can remember, that Doctor Who has done an animated sequence in an episode like this.
Animated?
They did the story of Zara and Zelen.
Oh, right.
As a voiceover animated
kind of like
tale.
shadow puppets almost.
Yeah. And that was interesting. It was like their story was cool. I mean, I've seen like that idea of immortal beings.
Yeah. This happens all the time on The Magicians.
Yeah. Does it?
Yeah. That's pretty much all we talk about.
Oh man, I'm way behind on The Magicians. But you've seen that idea of like gods coming in, but that's also like a really interesting to have gods come into our universe and be messing with stuff.
I thought they were going to just be a variation of the Time Lords. That's what I thought they were going to lean into. They were kind of hinting about it, and then at the end, Zelen was like, "Oh, the beast I created is like calling me through time," and I was like, "Are you trying to do that?" Because that would be cool too.
I'm wondering if we are teasing it, because there is something that has been consistent throughout this season, and that's the threat from outside of our universe. Doctor Who usually keeps things contained to our universe. It's just from different time periods. Yeah, so like there was this stuff during the Tennant years where we like went to alternate world and brought Cybermen back. Yeah. But besides that, we've generally stuck to our universe. But this season has been all about beings or people from alternate realities.
Yeah.
Including like we don't know where Dr. Ruth came from. Yeah. But that possibility is still out there, and the Chibnall may be like misdirecting us. We don't know.
Maybe. I will say it's just I think the lead up to it could just be a little bit clearer. I think overall the storytelling this year could be a little bit clearer, because it's just kind of I don't know. It's even with old school Doctor Who or just other sci-fi shows that I watch, I kind of know where they're going, and I find a comfort in that, even if they just misdirect me somewhere else. But with Doctor Who, I just never know what's going to happen every episode, and I find no comfort in that.
Right now, right now it absolutely feels that way. Like we, like when you go back to older seasons, you knew like, okay, we're going somewhere with this, but I don't know where we're going right now. I don't know if we're going towards a big Timeless Child reveal. I don't know if the Timeless Child is going to be like a doctor that like the Doctor splits into two, and that's why we have two of them running around. Or is that going to result in like another Time Lord that's just like out there in the universe, and like there's some weird collection or they're like where it's like Clara, the Doctor's daughter, and now Dr. Ruth just like all hanging out.
Just running around.
speaking of Dr. Ruth, Ethan Nagai kind of has a thought that Chibnall was actually lying about Dr. Ruth not being an alternate universe doctor. And I agree because, like, kind of like what we're talking about right now, I feel like there is a split somewhere, and that everything we're seeing, especially in this episode, and just, you know, especially with Dr. Ruth, it's just kind of telling us and hinting that there is a split somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just, but that's the thing, like, his comments don't necessarily, like, what he was trying to say is that she is the doctor. This is not a fake version or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he was trying to cement that this is, like, a real doctor and this is somebody playing the doctor.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you're going to explain it without that. Now, we did get a little snippet of the doctor's nightmare from this episode where they mention the timeless child, and we see a child, very small. I didn't catch much of their features. Did you guys see, like, what the child looked like?
They looked maybe like they're Asian.
Yeah.
And that's all I really
That's what I thought. Okay.
Like tanner skin, too, is what I caught.
Yeah, because I was like, is this going to be like, oh, this is like Dr. Ruth as a kid, and like we look real close.
Well, it also doesn't really matter because they're Time Lords. So, and if we learned anything from every song, they could they could look like anything, any race, any gender as children.
Well, it's just like if Dr. Ruth was the one regeneration before William Hartnell. Somehow, and that's like that's the thing that we have that they're gonna explain it away. It's like, is that your? But it doesn't look like that's it either.
I don't know.
We don't know.
I'm just sorry, guys. I'm meaning on. It's a rainy day in LA.
Adrian's like, hey,
Makes me sleepy.
Doctor Who. But so we do have these gods that came from outside the universe, and I'm wondering like if they're going to be involved or they're people. I thought it was an interesting choice to refer to some group of them as Eternals. It's like,
and Guardians.
There's a big movie, Guardians and Eternals. I'm like, guys, Marvel is
And
like
that's
doing it.
Also, speaking of Eternals, though, Dorothy Banks says the Eternals were around in the 5th Doctor era, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Old
Like,
school.
that's like, my brain didn't even go there.
Yeah.
It's too wrapped up in Marvel lore.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went,
I
too.
should have Googled that before we came in today, but did not have time.
It just aired here.
It just aired.
It's not. We're not watching on the England feed. We have to get the East Coast feed via like whatever means we can. But so as we go further through this episode, we did get. So I do want to talk about the Yaz scene because I did think it was a very sweet. Like
With the cop.
With the cop, like I wish we had spent a little more time earning it for Yaz, but the scene itself and like the subsequent scene where she returns, I thought were very sweet.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that even though they didn't quite explain it, what I'm assuming is that when we see her the 3 years later, that it is way before she ever, ended up with the Doctor. And so that would explain why now she's older with the Doctor than she was when we saw her going to give, I think it was the 50 pieces.
I thought that was her.
that was modern day.
Yeah.
Oh, see, because her hair was a little different.
I like
That's
your
why-
idea because it fixes some continuity problems, but no, that was absolutely meant to be today because they say 3 years earlier to infer that it's like 3 years earlier from today. And what she's celebrating with her sister is the anniversary of that moment.
Yeah.
So it was 3 years ago that she ran away and met this cop.
Yeah.
And then I guess she's just like sitting on the highway, just like not knowing where to go.
It implied, and maybe I'm crazy, that maybe she was suicidal. Like, I was like, are they implying that she was about to harm herself?
See, I took it like she was just running away and that she probably... See, this is where I'm confused because if she was underage, then a cop could have come and taken her. I'm sure that I'm not sure exactly what the laws are in England, but I'm sure that a cop could have shown up and said, hey, you're coming with me. So I'm thinking maybe this was college era and that a cop was sent out of concern just to talk to her, which is what happened.
I think you're right, Adrian. But this is sort of it's been sort of some of the issues with this show this season is like Chibnall has latched onto this idea that Doctor Who is a kids show and not a family show, and so he's pulling back on all of these themes. And I think that it was supposed to be that she was suicidal and her sister was concerned, and so she called the police because that's what you don't
can call for self-harm.
Yes.
You can call and they will come out if they think that somebody's about to attempt self-harm.
Yeah, and I think that that's what this was sort of implying without saying it. I wish they had said it a little bit more explicitly, because I think that people who are dealing with that do need it a little bit more, just like directly, like, look, Yaz has suffered with suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. We can accept that as a society and say, we understand you feel that way, but we want to help you. Let's get you talking to people and growing and learning and be healing.
And there's no reason why kids shouldn't hear that message too.
Yeah.
Because
Especially
kids are
kids.
suicidal.
Yeah.
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 So-
I hate to say it, but it is true.
If we're reading it right and they pulled back on it, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
And then there's like, maybe we're just reading it wrong. And
It
it was
could
just meant to be that she's just trying to run away from it all.
But even Tebow, you know, when he has this, because I didn't really know that they were even trying to touch on depression until the very last 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, you're talking about, you spent the whole episode talking about fear. And now you're making it that Tebow's been a shut-in and that he's been kind of isolating himself. And
Nightmares and depression are not the same thing.
And my thing was, I agree with you completely. When he like locked himself in, I was taking everything he was doing as being fear, paranoia, that these dreams had been scaring him, not depression. I think they should have handled it way differently if that's where they were headed.
If that's what they were going to do, then he should have been staying up. Sorry. As somebody who deals with depression and anxiety, I know when I get depressed, I'm up till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sleep is a
Just
hard
being
thing.
you know, and then sleeping in the day. So just kind of, if that's what you want to do, then like, that's cool. Let's do it. Let's talk about depression. But if you really want to just avoid it and be like, well, this is really an episode about fear. JK, it's depression. That's confusing. Just be clear.
You can wear it on your sleeve. I mean, I'm literally wearing it on my jacket because I have an Eeyore pin on me right now. But like, they deal with it. Winnie the Pooh deals with it like right out in front of you. Doctor Who can do it too.
Inside Out, all about childhood depression.
And like, so that stuff's all there. And like, there is sort of this clearly like a voice trying to deal with like what it's like to feel like an outsider in this episode. Even the Doctor dropped, and I did appreciate this moment, even if it was a little bit like saying it and like telling not showing. When the Doctor, like Graham's like trying to confide in the Doctor, and she's just like, I'm very socially awkward still. And it's just like, you can just be socially awkward. You don't have to tell us that.
Yeah, we know you're socially awkward. The Doctor's always been socially awkward.
Yeah, every version of the Doctor, save maybe Tennant.
He had his moments.
But
he's
overall,
very charming.
He's so charming. He's not socially awkward.
And that's just David Tennant. Like,
yeah.
David Tennant's just inherently a charming person. And so you're like, are you socially awkward? That's adorable.
Like, Matt Smith is super socially awkward.
God,
His Doctor is just like the weirdest dude at a party.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like.
None of us do.
And even Capaldi is just like, he's like this old excited guy. He was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then everyone's like, no.
And
what?
he'd always check in. He'd be like, what's that? Did I say something wrong? Was that weird? And people were like, yes. He's like, okay. Let's do it anyway.
That's it. But like, other than the courage to ask somebody about it, that's what I'm thinking all the time.
Yeah.
Was that interaction weird? But I do like that they're at least like going there. So I want to see them push those things further. Like, take what we're doing here with Graham and Ryan and Yaz, where Ryan is questioning whether they should stay.
Yeah.
So Yaz is like dealing with like realizing that she can grow. Graham is dealing with the fear of cancer coming back and like, what does he do with his remaining days, because it could come at any moment. And that's a scary thought. And Ryan, now that his friend is like, we got to hang out more.
Yeah.
He's sort of wondering like, maybe this isn't the right life for me.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing I want to ask you guys, and I want to get the chat's opinion in on this as well. Do you think that this is building towards them leaving the TARDIS at the end of the season?
I do. That, to me, that was the biggest giveaway. This conversation between Yaz and Ryan, like, it just tells me that if they're not leaving this season, then maybe the next. But I feel like they wouldn't be talking about this if they weren't ready to go. And especially Ryan. I think that if maybe it'll just be him that leaves.
I think it'll probably be, it seems like the whole point of them even going with the Doctor was that they were kind of running away from their lives. You know, Grace had just died, and it was really a way to distract from some of the, you know, I think more depressing aspects of their life at that time.
Yeah.
And so I think it will come down to them needing to kind of reconcile with what life will be at home without the Doctor or without the people they had in their lives before they went with the Doctor. So, yeah, I could see them leaving. I do know that, oh, my God. Why I'm blanking on her name? The actress,
Jodie Whittaker?
Jodie Whittaker. I was like, Josie? What? Jodie Whittaker has confirmed that she'll be back for season 13. So.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Jodie Whittaker will be back for next season, but most doctors don't keep their companions for their entire run. In fact, not a single doctor has.
Yeah.
The longest a companion has stuck around would be Clara, who got 2.5 seasons. Was it 2.5? So which would be the same as Amy and Rory, who also got 2.5.
Yeah.
So the chat, there's a lot of responses in here. Dorothy Banks says yes for one of them. Saul Perez, I wouldn't mind just staying with Graham and Yaz. Kristen Shivibert says Ryan will leave. And then Ethan Nagai says, I could see Ryan and Graham leaving together, especially because they're tied family-wise now. Yaz could stay longer, I think, given how her story's going. But I could see all of them leaving. And then, and then Dorothy, it looks like she has a question. Would Graham stay if Ryan left?
I don't think he would.
I don't think so either.
I think if Ryan leaves, Graham is out.
Yeah.
I think that of any of them are going to stay, Yaz makes the most sense. But I think what I would personally love to see is all three of them leave, because it's going to push the Doctor into a darker emotional space that I think could lead to some really cool stuff drama-wise.
Yeah, I think it would be best if they all left. I think when you have like hanger-on companions for too long into new Doctors and stuff, it can be bad.
I don't know who you're talking about. But I would love to, again, it's also like I want to see Jodie Whittaker's Doctor play a little bit more, and part of that is playing with new companions. It's like, I thought Peter Capaldi's Doctor really came to life when he got paired with Bill.
Yeah.
Because Bill was such a fun and unique character that played so well off of him, and I want to see Jodie get that same chance to have a different set of people to play off of.
Yeah, that was one of the best parts of Tennant, is that he went through, I think, probably the most companions of at least the new series. He went through 3 companions. Yeah, you know, and not including the specials where he just like had random companions. So
they all do that here and there, but he was especially just like, you're gonna be my companion now. And
I mean, he had a solid year of specials.
Yeah.
So.
But speaking of other people, I think it's time for us to ask, who's who on who?
All right. To quote the great Matthew McConaughey. Let's go who's who on who. First one I want to start off with, I'm going to get his name wrong because it's tough for me. But Bom Tingang, who played Tebow, he's mainly known as a stage actor. I think he's relatively young, relatively new. But he's was in Assassin's Creed Origins, the film Diana and I, and he appeared on The Death of a Salesman at Royal Court Theatre. So he's doing well, doing his thing. Then we have Claire Hope Ashite, who played Zara, I suppose. I was like, why do I recognize her? And I was like, oh, yeah, Children of Men. She's the woman who can have a baby in Children of Men. Spoilers, sorry. It's been a decade. She's also in 7 Seconds and Criminal UK. Guys, if you haven't seen Criminal UK, the first episode is with David Tennant, and it will shatter you. and make you question your love for him. But he's great. Anyways, and then lastly,
More than Jessica Jones?
no, even worse. Even worse than Jessica Jones. Ian Gelder, who played Zelen. You probably were like, I know this guy. Where do I know this guy from? And I have a picture of him and Charles Dance in some play they did years ago. And then I have another picture of them in Game of Thrones, being evil Lannister family. So he's mainly known for playing Keven Lannister in Game of Thrones. He's also been in Torchwood, and he's been in an episode of His Dark Materials.
I'm seeing that her name is Rakaya, that character. I don't
Rakaya.
know where I got Zara from.
I was like, I didn't hear that, but Rakaya, yes. And then lastly, this episode probably reminded me most of season 5, episode 7, Amy's Choice with Matt Smith's Doctor, where Toby Jones came on to play the Dream Lord. It did play with that kind of idea of fears and your inner darkness, and it was a great episode, you guys. If you want to go back and check out that oh my god, nearly classic Who at this point.
Ooh, that's crazy. But yeah, I love that episode. I think it's a great episode, and this episode also made me think of the God Complex, the Minotaur episode.
Oh yeah,
because that was people dealing with their fears, and more like directly their fears, where they are literally locked behind a door, and you can open them and they reveal, and that was scary. That episode was scary. I like the idea here of depression and fear, like depression being manifested and forced into your brain. It should have been scarier.
Yeah, and I think we anticipated that it was going to be a scary episode, so for it to not quite pay off in that way, it was kind of sad. I mean, even Dreamland was scary. I mean, those old people, their mouths opened up and crap, and like that crap was crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that? Or Dream Lord with Amy Choice.
Yeah. And we're just like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
And then twists.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spoil it if you guys haven't watched that episode, because it's a good one. All right. Do you guys have any other thoughts on Can You Hear Me?
Okay.
Ignore me.
Well, we've got 3 more episodes
I know.
left of this season of Doctor Who, the final 2 being a 2-parter.
Yeah, 23rd and the 1st.
So really we just have 1 more standalone episode, and then we have a 2-parter to close it out. Fingers crossed that it's going to be a serialized canon, like...
Well, the episodes are called The Ascension of the Cybermen and then The Timeless Children. So.
Oh, hell yes.
So they will definitely be keeping in line with...
Oh, and I just saw something about the finale, that about a person who's going to be there. Zip.
Tell us after.
Do we want to put up a spoiler wall to get people hyped?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, spoiler wall for this, like, because this is public information, because it's on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
But it says Ruth. The identity of Ruth will be revealed.
Who messed up at BBC?
It also says that they are going to travel to Mondis. So we're going back to Mondis.
Oh, wait. Where's Mondis?
Mondis is the alternate Earth that the Cybermen first came from, which we visited with Bill at the end of hers when we saw the early Cybermen again.
Yeah.
Which is like, I remember being like, whoa, we're in Mars, this is crazy. And we're going back there like 2 years later.
Oh, beware the lone Cyberman.
Yeah. Oh, is Bill the lone Cyberman?
Or Ruth.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry. That's what I was thinking. There's my prediction.
All right. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for us here at AfterBuzz TV on the Doctor Who After Show. Thank you so much for geeking out with us tonight and just being with us for this whole season. We've got 3 more to do. I'm Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. Be sure to follow my other podcasts if you want to get weird ships in the night for all your crazy cross-fandom shipping needs. Adrian.
Yes, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. You can also catch me on my improv show the 1st and 3rd Mondays if you're LA local at the Clubhouse called Church. And you can catch me if you're watching Showtime right now, probably on Kidding in the first 2 minutes of the episode. So
awesome. And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my author Instagram account at Rachel Radner Author. If you like Stumptown or The Young and the Restless or next week, Outlander.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Outlander and The Magicians as well. I do those.
I'm on those shows. We're on Outlander together, but I'm on the other shows as well. And you can catch my articles on AfterBuzzTV.com.
All right, guys, this has been the Doctor Who After Show. Allons-y.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.